Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me again today. Now, I promised today that I was going to do a look using the new reimagined, I nearly said re-imaged, new reimagined Rebel palette. I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to do some swatch comparisons with some of the larger palettes and the ones that I missed out yesterday. And I think a few of you picked up on one of the larger palettes that it might be quite similar to. But I'm going to do that later when I come back from seeing my dad, because I'm already running a little bit late and I want to get to see him before he gets too tired. So I'm going to go in with the Rebel look. I've put on my foundation. I put on Tom Ford today, and that's Jack in the background, as you can see, saying Happy Christmas with all the red balloons. And I put on Tom Ford foundation. Now, having used Charlotte's Flawless foundation for a couple of days, I'm just going to carry on and let him make fun of me behind me. Having used Charlotte's foundation for the last couple of days, I have to say I do prefer Charlotte's one in terms of the look. But this one is so easy and so effortless, and it does keep your face moisturised. But having swapped back to the Tom Ford, I'm missing my Charlotte Tilbury. Isn't that weird? Okay, so I'm going to go in with this Rebel palette, so stay tuned. Okay, so a little reminder, this is the new Rebel palette, the Rebel Luxury palette. And as I said yesterday, there's nothing on it to indicate that it's a new version of. It doesn't say it's the Rebel 2. It just calls itself the Rebel. So I reckon the old Rebel might well be out now. So if you like the brighter greens, you may have missed out. So I'm going to go in with this prime shade, which is a lovely yellow gold. And I'll put that over my entire lid, like so. Other side. Okay, and then I'm going to take the smudge brush, and with the smudge brush, I'm just going to take it underneath and put that prime shade underneath, because again, it's quite eye brightening. So I'm going to take it all the way along. Now, this is a really good palette if you've got brown eyes, because green works really well with brown eyes. It's a really good contrast. I'm not saying it doesn't look good with any other eye colour, but it does. Green works particularly well with brown eyes. Now I'm going to go in with this khaki enhanced shade, and I'm going to pop that over half my lid, exactly as I used the Queen of Glow yesterday, into the crease and over sort of half of my mobile lid. And then again, with the smudge brush, I'm going to just take that and take it halfway along underneath. All right, and then I'm going to take the smoke shade in the way that I normally do. So no surprises in the way that I'm applying it. But this one does have... This one looks very sparkly when I pick it up on the brush. Not sure if you can see that. So I'm hoping this is going to look all right on the hood, but because it's quite dark, it should be okay. So I'm just placing it, as I normally do, in my little triangle, and then I will blend it out once I've placed it. And I'll take a little bit of that down as well. And then blend, blend, blend. actually, that's really helped. You can see that's really changed my eye shape and made it look less hooded. Can you see the difference? Okay, I'm going to do the other one on fast forward. Okay, that's that done. Now, as I said yesterday, I'm going to be really interested, when I was doing the other one, the Queen of Glow, really interested to see how this pop shade looks on the mobile lid, given that it is not one of the kind of pop shade formulas, that the original pop shade formulas. I'm going to apply it with the brush first of all and see how that looks. It definitely does provide a pop of colour. It's just a different formula. So I'm going to just show you one eye done. And one eye not done. So that one definitely looks a little bit glowier. Let me just try it with my finger. See, it doesn't feel like a pop shade. Now, the only thing about this palette, I'm going to try this, but I'm not sure. I'm going to take a clean smudge brush and I'm going to take the prime shade, but I'm not sure if this is a bit dark to use as a highlighter up there. Oh no, it's okay. I think I can get away with that. And I'll pop some of that in the inner corner as well. And inner corner there. Actually, that works quite well as a highlighter. And because of that, I'm just going to dab a little bit with the smudge brush just in the centre of my mobile lid. Very pretty. Okay, I'm going to put on some of Charlotte's Feline Flick and some of her eye cheat, some mascara and brow product, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and put my eye cheat down again and can't find it. I can't be bothered to go looking for it right now. I'm so tired today. So I'm going to show you something else. If you put green on and on your eyes and you want to do something like a drop shadow, which really contrasts, you can actually put blue underneath, and it sounds crazy, but it just kind of, it contrasts enough to really make your eyes pop. So I'm using Rock and Coal in Marlene Midnight on my waterline. Okay, I mean, I think I would have preferred today with this look to use eye cheat, but I just couldn't find it. So that is the Rebel palette. I've used some blusher from, I'll show you what palette I used. I did my bronzer and I did my blush from this palette, which is the Glowing Pretty Skin palette. So I've been carrying this around in my bag a lot, and it's got the powder, it's got, you can see I've used the powder a lot, the bronzer, it's got 2 blushes and 2 highlighters. So I've been using that quite a bit. Now for my lips, I am going to use Hot Gossip first of all. and then I'm going to get a lipstick and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to use a real wild card, which you won't have seen for a while, called American Sweetheart. And the reason I'm going to pulling this out is not only does it go really well with this look, but Charlotte has actually bought out some more stock of this over Christmas, and I definitely saw it on Charlotte Tilbury's website. So in case you're interested, this is a kissing formula lipstick, if you like the kissing formulas, and it was a limited edition, but there are some on her website. I hope they haven't sold out by the time you watch this, but she had restocked it. So that is the look, and I'm going to join you later and go through some of the palettes that I missed yesterday in terms of comparisons with the two palettes, and specifically this one. I think you want to see some of the larger palettes because she's got some khaki shades in some of her larger palettes. So I'm going to follow that up before I put this out. So see you in a while. Good morning, everyone. And you're going to get a fright because you've just seen me fully made up, and now you're seeing me first thing in the morning. But this is part 2 where I'm going to do the comparisons. I fully intended to do it when I got back from visiting my dad yesterday, but I fell asleep watching Christmas movies with my son. So this is the swatch comparisons that I didn't do my first video, so looking at some of the larger palettes and the ones that I didn't mention before. And excuse my very bad hair day, I think I've been lying in an unusual way, but anyway, I'm going to stop fussing. I am what I am. I'm just going to carry on and let's get going with this. Sorry, I just couldn't carry on with my face looking like that. If my hair's going to look rebel-like, then I thought I'll put the Rebel on. Now, I did exactly what I did yesterday, except for, I'll put the details below. I used a colour chameleon to prime my lids, and so I used golden quartz before, and then also I used Starlight palette of pops over the top of the Rebel palette, and this is the new Scarlet Spell on my lips. So now that I feel a little bit more like a beauty YouTuber, we're going to get on with these comparisons. So my eyes are really streaming at the moment, so I'm hoping all my makeup doesn't run. So we have the Rebel palette and we have Queen of Glow. So a few of you mentioned the instant palettes, the larger palettes, and you mentioned Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, and also looking at other palettes. So of course, well spotted for those of you that said Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, because let me just get that out for you. And this has got some dupes, I think, of the Rebel palette, which is what I suspected before, but I thought I would just stick to the quads at first. But as you can see here, you have Dream Glow. Okay, and Dream Glow is very similar colour spectrum to the new Rebel palette. So let me just get you the Rebel palette, and we can do some comparisons. Okay, so here is the Rebel palette, and here is Dream Glow. So you can see, again, very similar colour spectrums. So I'm just going to swatch. I've been covered in swatches this morning, looking at the comparisons for you. So I'm just going to swatch you on my hand. In fact, I'll do it on my arm, again, so that you can see. The reason I do the inner part of my arm is for those of you that are watching that are fairer than me, you can actually see it on the palest part of my arm. So I'm going to quickly swatch the Prime, Enhance, Smoke, Pop of the new Rebel palette, which I'm doing right now. And there you can see those shades, which you will have seen yesterday. And now I'm going to swatch you the Starry Eyes Dream Glow little trio so that we can compare. So I think there it is, and I'm going to just quickly do a photograph of those so that you can see them in between, okay? Because obviously it's a bit difficult to get all of that onto the camera shot. Okay, I'll just be right back. Okay, so what I would say is the enhanced shade of the new Rebel palette is identical to the smoke shade of Dream Glow in Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. They look identical. Now, the other shade, the smoke shade here in the new Rebel palette is very similar tone to the enhanced shade of Dream Glow. However, it has got this diamond dust in it, and it has got a very shimmery, let me just bring that forward there. Can you see the shimmers in it? Whereas in the actual Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, it's the same colour, but it doesn't have that diamond powder over the top. It doesn't have that kind of light reflective quality that the smoke shade has in the Rebel palette, but they are very similar shades. Now, the prime shade of Dream Glow is nothing like the prime shade of the Rebel palette. It is a more neutral kind of oyster champagne type prime shade. However, I will say that I wish that had been in, I'd almost wish that she had duped it in the Rebel palette, because this is actually quite dark to use, like to highlight under your eyebrows and to inner corner. It's actually quite a dark shade unless you're very dark. It's not going to be, so it's kind of missing, that palette is kind of missing one of those really light prime shades which Dream Glow has got in Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. Okay, so let's move on. Through all my other palettes, and there isn't anything else that's sort of green apart from in the Icon palette. I looked through all her instant palettes, and the only one is this green, which obviously is a lot more of a forest green and not a muted green at all. But it would look lovely with this. You could put that over your lid as a kind of contrast, and it would look quite nice. But really, there was nothing in the Icon palette. So as far as the Rebel is concerned, yes, in Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, the Dream Glow trio, very similar hues, but not, apart from the smoke shade and the enhanced shade, which I think are identical. They are similar hues, but not exactly the same. Okay, so these ones here. All right, so let's move on to the other palette. Okay, so we have Queen of Glow. Now, as I said yesterday, the closest one for me has got to be Vintage Vamp. But if you like Vintage Vamp, but you just want the vintage and you don't want the vamp, i.e. you don't want it to be too dark, this is a perfect palette for you, because it has got a lighter enhanced shade, which is very eye brightening. So if you love the colour scheme of Vintage Vamp, but you just wanted something that was a little bit more wearable, this really is perfect, and I'm very excited by it. Now, obviously, these have got quite warm shades, and going through palettes and looking for other ones. As you know, yesterday I said Vintage Vamp, and I also said her recent palette of pops in Celestial Eyes are the two obvious ones. But looking through her other palettes, it's quite tricky, because a lot of the palettes, like I'm going to just show you this one, which is Stars in Your Eyes, have got quite warm shades, but they're not really the same. There's some similar ones. So for example, you've got this one here in Love Eyes. You've got Love Eyes, which is quite similar to the pop shade in here, but again, this looks sort of more peachy orange than that, and that's more pink. Then you've got these ones, but these are more purple, true purple. These have got more brown in them. So they're similar kind of warm shades, but they're not the same really. Now moving on to the Icon palette. Let me get to the Icon palette for you. I'm surrounded in palettes here. Okay, so here's the Icon palette. Now the obvious one is this one here, which I'm just going to swatch on my hand. But it, to me, takes on more of a pinky hue than this one, which is more of an autumnal burgundy browny hue, and it's a lot lighter, as you can see. Then this one here, again, looks like it might be similar-ish. And then let me just show you the pop shade from Queen of Glow, but that doesn't look the same. And here is the enhanced shade, not really the same. So again, similar colour schemes around here, but not really the same. And then let's look at this pink one. There's the pink one, but these are more, these aren't really, you can see they're warmer toned. These are more pinker toned. So not really much in the Icon palette, similar colour schemes, but not the same. Then let's look at Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. So in Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, you've got this kind of warm trio here called Love Glow. And Love Glow, definitely this middle one, is a kind of similar scheme, but not the same. So those are, I've lost one of my, I think I lost the prime shade, didn't I, from the palette. Here we go. There's the prime shade. Right. So that is Queen of Glow. That is the enhanced shade from Love Glow. So on the similar spectrum, but not the same. The dark one here is sort of more of a raspberry tone. I'm getting covered in swatches now. It's more of a raspberry tone. This one is more, as you can see, the smoke shade is a lot darker. So again, nothing really that much. And then you've got these lighter ones, but they've got more brown in them. Okay, so not really there. So let's move on to the next palette. Okay, someone was asking about Pillow Talk, and I can't remember whether they were asking about Pillow Talk palette of pops or Pillow Talk. But here are the Pillow Talk palette of pops and Pillow Talk. Now, if I hold up Queen of Glow next to these, I'm not going to be able to hold all three, but I think you'll see that Pillow Talk has got a lot more pink. The thing about this one is that they're warmer, kind of more orange undertones and yellow undertones. These are a more pink undertone. Okay, so they're not really, having looked at them, I just don't think that you're going to get a similar look. This is far more pink as a kind of, as opposed to a more autumnal gold and burgundy. So really, and I wanted to just do one last palette that I mentioned yesterday before I summarise what the dupes are over the last 2 days, so that if you're looking at this, I'm basically going to tell you all of the ones that I think they're similar to. Okay, but there's one last palette I wanted to look at. I tell a lie, there's 2 palettes that I wanted to look at. So here is Gasm. Now this shade here is sort of on the similar spectrum to the enhanced shade of Queen of Glow. Let me just show you these. And of course, we know that this is Transformize as well. So Transformize and Gasm have got a similar kind of enhanced shade here. And so I would say that this is kind of a lighter version of this Queen of Glow. Okay, but you're getting something a lot lighter than this. So if you kind of like this spectrum, but again, you just think that that is going to be a bit too dark for you, then you might want to look at Gasm. I'm not sure whether they're still selling it. But this one also isn't a matte. It's more of a shimmer shade, I think. Let me see. Oh, no, it is a matte. It's a sort of, no, it's more of a satin shade. It's not completely matte. It's got some light reflection to it. So this one's a lot lighter than this, as you can see. But this enhanced shade here from Gasm, and also in same one as Transformize, is sort of quite similar to, I'm trying to find a finger that I haven't swatched on, is quite similar sort of toned to this, but this is far more intense, I would say. Okay, similar hues. Now the last one that I wanted to show you was this legendary Muse, which Charlotte bought out 2, possibly even 3 years ago now. Okay, now this is what I meant about it. Kind of reminded me of, they're not the same, but if you look at the prime and the enhanced shades, it reminded me when I was applying of that kind of Christmassy eye brightening effect. They're kind of lighter versions of, they're not the same, but very, very similar until you get to the bottom 2 shades. So that's it. So I'm going to just summarize now what the main dupes are, because obviously I've done this over 2 videos and I don't want to confuse anyone that's only watched one and says, well, hang on, you didn't mention Vintage Vamp. All right, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so we'll go to Queen of Glow first. So the main similarities, I would say, with Queen of Glow are Vintage Vamp, but Vintage Vamp has got the smoke shades are very, very similar, but Vintage Vamp has got a darker enhanced shade. So if you've always loved the colour scheme, I'm repeating myself, but it is the main thing to take home from this. If you've always liked the colour scheme of Vintage Vamp, but felt it was too vampish for you and too dark, then this really is the perfect palette for you. And I'm going to be using this one a lot. Okay, and the other comparison is definitely the palette of pops in Celestial Eyes. They are very, very similar. Have a look at yesterday's video and you will see me holding this up against that. But obviously they're pop shades. But this one would work really well next to the Celestial Eyes. So you could put this on and then you could amp it up with Celestial Eyes and it would be perfect. Okay, so that is the main similarities there. Then you've got sort of Starry Eyes to Hypnotize and Stars in Their Eyes, but there is nothing really. They're sort of similar warm tones, but nothing really that would compare to these to this palette. The main ones are Vintage Vamp and the palette of pops in Celestial Eyes. Now to summarize the Rebel palette. So here is the Rebel palette. So the main one that is very, very like is the Starlight palette of pops. And I looked this morning and actually, even though that was a limited edition last year, it looks like it's still on sale. So if you want a pop palette to go with this, this new reimagined Rebel palette, then definitely look at Starlight palette of pops. You will bet, because you don't have a pop shade, the emollient pop shades in here anymore. So that is the main one. The other one is obviously in Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, and it is the Dream Glow trio of this palette. They are similar hues, not exactly the same. The smoke shade here is a lot more sparkly and got diamond powder, but there is a similar tone in Dream Glow, and the smoke shade is identical to the, I think it's the enhanced shade of Dream Glow. Have a look back, I've said it at the beginning. But that's the main thing. Now this one worked brilliantly with a colour chameleon that I used this morning in Golden Quartz. Golden Quartz works wonderfully under this, as would the darker green colour chameleon, although you're going to get a darker, smokier look with that. So, and then you've got this sort of enhanced shade, which is very, very yellow. The only thing, as I said, I don't like about this palette is there really isn't one that you can kind of highlight. So if you've got Starry Eyes to Hypnotize and you're using Dream Glow, you're using this, you can actually use the prime shade from Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, will go beautifully with this. But those are the main comparisons. Please carry on asking me questions. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very soon. Next coming up's got to come up because otherwise Christmas will be over, is Pamela's video, which is a tag that she put me in, which is answering questions about Christmas makeup. So I'll see you very soon for that. And I've got loads and loads to catch up on, I know, in terms of palettes to show you. And I will see you all very soon. Have a lovely day. Take care. I'm off to get dressed now. Bye-bye.